Today we talk about Cosmic Run. It is a dice game for which I don't have the box with me to show you, because actually in the first place I got interested in the game as a solitaire game that I could bring with me as a travel game. I'm in Italy right now, I'm filming from my parents' house, I'm visiting them right now, and in my hometown it's hard to find opponents, so I wanted games that I could carry with me and I could play late at night when everybody is asleep, which is how I play this game. So, since I carry with me, I simply put all of the components in a plastic bag. I didn't bring the bag with me. And I play the game solo, so I'm going to tell about the game in general, how it works in general, and then I'm going to tell about the solitaire variant. The purpose of the game is to explore these planets. The players control civilizations that are traveling to those planets. Each player has a color and a set of tokens, and there is a token for each player going on each of these planetary tracks. Pre-planetary, these simply are the tracks describing the journey to the planet. So each player has a token there representing a ship or a space ball, I guess. Well, let's say they're ships. You have dice of various colors, and those are used to indicate the resources that the players can use, but also to determine whether or not there are gonna be meteors hitting the planets. What bad luck our human colonists in space have in this game, that they're trying to reach planets that are constantly bombarded by meteors that threaten to destroy them. So, how does it work? At the beginning of each player's turn, you need to check, that's the first thing, whether or not there will be a meteor shower on one of the planets. You have cards that you use based on the number of players. This is the card for 3-player, 4-player, solo, 2 players. There's also one for the co-op mode. Suppose we are playing with 2 players. We look at this card. The active player rolls all of their dice, and in this phase, when you're checking for meteor showers, you only look at the red dice and the blue die. You look at the line corresponding to the number of planets actually active. Players can be active, like you see here, with the track visible, or inactive. And a planet becomes inactive when it has been hit 3 times by meteors, or when it has been explored, that is reached by one of the players. Right now we have 5 active players, so we use active planets, so we use this line here. If the red dice total added together are equal to or higher than the target number for the line that you're checking, then a planet is hit by comets, by meteors, and the number of the planet is the one indicated on the blue die. So in this case, nothing happens, because with 5 active planets and a 7 as the target number, 6 is not enough to trigger that effect. Suppose that this is the case, then we look at this, then we see that a planet is hit, and the planet that is hit is the number 3. So we add the token of number 3, indicating that it was hit by meteors. If that happens again, you flip the 1 meteor token to the other side, indicating to if the planet is hit a 3rd time during this phase, the planet is flipped to the other side. It becomes inactive and it is scored at that time. That means players at that moment receive the number of points that is indicated on the space, on the planetary track where they are. And players actually start from negative points. So if this planet was destroyed now, it was scored right now, red player would receive 6 points and yellow player would lose a point. Actually, this is a game where you start with some points, so you can pay for penalties if you have to take any penalties of this type. So you score a planet when the planet is destroyed, or when a player reaches the planet itself. Then again, you simply score it. Players receive or lose points, flip the planet to the other side. As you can see from the lines here, different lines, the number, it decreases the fewer planets are available, which makes sense after all, because you have fewer planets, so more and more often you will use the red dice to check the blue die. But then think also that with fewer planets, that also means that the blue die is more likely, as the game progresses, of not indicating a planet that is still available and can be hit. So this actually balances things and gives you overall stable chance of seeing your planets being hit and then destroyed during the game. And again, there is a mix of planets being destroyed and planets being explored and rendered inactive by players reaching them. Once you perform this check, then you use these dice to perform effects, and at that point you ignore the colors entirely. The red and blue colors are only used during that phase. Now all we care is that this die shows a 3, these dice show a 4, these are the dice show 4, and so on and so forth. The basic idea is that after you roll, you place at least one. You can place more in the play area. There are various areas where you can play your dice. You can play them on the planetary tracks. You can play them on these alien cards. These alien cards come out of the stack. 3 always are available. When one is taken by a player, it is replaced from another card from the stack with another card from the stack. And you get to take the card when you place dice on them matching the numbers and the quantities indicated on the card. So if I have the double 2, well, I have a double 1, a 1 and a 1 there. I can take that card and put it in my play area and use it later. If I place some dice here, I'm trying to meet the requirements that it takes for each planet to score. Well, to advance on that track and therefore to score. On this planet, to reach this planet, people advance on this track for each die showing exactly 1 pip that they place here. This planet takes 2 of a kind, so actually from my previous pool I had these 2 3s, I could place them here, and then after I'm done placing, every dice is placed and I'm resolving the actions resulting from my dice placement. Then on that track I get to advance 1 because it takes 2 of a kind. To advance on that track 3 of a kind, that track 4 of a kind, which is usually very hard, but actually I got lucky here. I could simply place those 4 dice there, and then as I'm resolving my actions after I placed all the dice, I can advance on that track. That track 5 of a kind. So with 6 dice, getting 5 of a kind is pretty hard, but there are game effects that you can use to do that. In any case, after you roll, you do need to place at least a die, and then, or you can play more if you want, and then you re-roll all the remaining ones, and you keep doing this, re-rolling and placing at least 1 here, or actually another card that I haven't mentioned yet, until you're done with your dice. You place all the dice, then you resolve all the effects. You advance on track where you can advance, you grab these cards, and I mentioned there's another place where you can place your dice. This is your technology card. It's pretty weak, but it's good to place leftover dice that you haven't been able to assign to other things. So for each die that you place here, ignoring the effect, you move your token up by 1 space on this track, and then during your turn you can use any effect which is equal to or lower than your level on the technology track. You reset the technology track no matter what you use. I may be here and I use that effect, I still reset everything, and you start over from there using leftover dice, so they're not completely wasted for this effect. So 3 places where you can place your dice. Here, as I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. You need 5 of a kind, 4, 3, 2 of a kind, or simply once to advance. And as we said, we score when a player reaches the planet or when a planet is destroyed. As for these cards, these aliens, they will give you different types of benefits. Some cards can be used multiple times. You see here, this is the number of charges, so to speak. When you use the effect, you rotate the card to indicate the number of effects that is still available. Once you use the last charge of an alien card, the card is placed aside, but it stays in your play area. You should keep it, not discard it, because at the end of the game, you score alien cards. And some cards can be used, as we said, multiple times. For example, this can be used up to 4 times to reduce the value of a die by 1. Very good to adjust dice to meet the requirements there. This one allows you to, for 1 time only, to use a 2 as any other die. This effect here allows you to draw crystals. So these are special tokens that will simply score you points at the end of the game. They are all the same on one side. Actually, I have them here. These are the crystals, and here are the tokens that you use to keep track of victory points. So on one side, they're all the same. You draw them face down. Other players do not know what you get. And on the other side, there are various numerical values representing the number of points. That's the crystals are worth. So it's simple as that. You get points and the opponents don't know exactly how many you got. We have rerolls, up to 3 rerolls. So these are the guys, the green guys, have a huge variety of effects. So many different things. And also, at the end of the game, you do get to score alien cards that you have purchased during the game, even if you have used them already. And you get higher amounts of points the more different races of aliens you have. So basically, you're collecting a set of ideally 5 alien cards, 5 alien races. There are 5 alien races. If you have all of them, you score a lot of points. For different ones, fewer points, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So you continue until all planets are destroyed and or explored. There are also other circumstances that may end the game, but frankly that is to me the main one. For example, the alien races run out is another way in which the game may end, but you play until the players meet one of the endgame conditions, and at that point you total all the points that they have scored from planetary tracks. You should have actually kept track of that one already. Points from crystals, points from alien races, and that way you determine the winner, who is the player with the most points at that point. As for the solitaire variant, in the solitaire variant you only use 5 dice instead of 6. You simply ignore one of the white dice. To determine the planet that gets hit, you do not have to worry about the red dice. You simply hit the planet indicated on the blue die. It is that simple. You use this other card here as a reminder of other things that you can do. Here, as you can see, no matter the number of planets, the blue die indicates who gets hit. In this game, in the solitaire game, you can also spend victory points quite liberally. Victory points really are a currency, a resource that you should feel free to spend because you need them. You can spend 2 victory points to use the missing white die for 1 turn, to add it to your 5 dice. You can spend 5 points to buy a shield, a protection for a planet, so that for that turn the planet cannot get hit. Very useful if your planet is almost destroyed and you haven't reached it yet, and you want to concentrate on that planet. In that case, buy protection and rush towards that planet and explore it as soon as possible. Because in the solitaire game, the victory condition is based on planetary exploration. You need to explore all 5 planets. If even a single one is destroyed before you explore it, you lose the solitaire game. Another important thing is that since victory points are so important to buy these vital benefits, you can also score your sets of aliens during the game, not just at the end. Then you simply turn them in and you collect points which you can spend to buy benefits. But the point is that if you're so desperate to do so with aliens that you haven't completely used yet, you simply lose the associated benefit. You don't get to do the thing that the alien can do for you. And this is the solitaire game, which I found interesting. I found fun. The overall game just is a very solid design. It's dice gaming done right, because you have a push or luck element, which I always like in dice games. You have a balance between the things that you can do now and the things that you think/hope you can do next. As you commit to dice and your range of options narrows, you need to figure out what you want to do next and how much you want to risk. I like the fact that there are a lot of ways of manipulating your odds of achieving certain things. For example, when it comes to these cards, there are a lot of things that they can do for you. The technology card is not so excellent, but having rerolls or having extra crystals, it is still good. So you can go for easy things such as this one. Most likely players will rush towards this planet first. So they can go for easy things, or they can build up your resources of rerolls and other manipulation tools. Then spending a lot of those, they can go for the hardest stuff. So you'll have turns where you advance a lot. Maybe you just got lucky, like I showed you, get 4 of a kind. That's it. You don't need to worry about much. Or you need to decide whether you want to place, say, at the beginning of your roll, like here, I have 2 of a kind. Then I could just place them here and then know for sure that I will get a step on that planet. And mind you, you can also move multiple times on a track if you can meet the requirement multiple times, like in that case. Or I may decide and try to go here to place those two there, or even here if I have other abilities and other things that make me think that I will have a good chance when I'm rolling these dice to get two more. So I like the fact that the initial roll gives you, well, look at that. All right, now we're only one away. The initial roll gives you a range of things that you can do, and based on the resources that you have accumulated, different strategies are possible. You can decide how much risk you want to take. The tree of decisions is simple, it's very intuitive, but it is associated with a range of options and game effects that makes the game interesting, the decisions fun. And gameplay simply quite captivating. I found myself captivated by the design. Rolling dice is always fun, as long as there are enough game effects to keep the experience interesting and not to make it just a dull exercise. This is a game that gives me enough game effects to make the dice rolling interesting, to associate the results with different actions, and so to give me different layers of gameplay. Fun, I enjoyed it. The solitaire variant also is quite solid. It is completely different because now points are not nearly as important. You will need to burn them constantly to be able to survive until the end of the game. So it's a completely different dynamic, but I like that too. I like the challenge. I didn't find it all that hard actually, and so I'm wondering if I did anything wrong. But there are, of course, if you play a solitaire game and you find the game too easy, there are a million ways of tweaking the level of complexity. In this case, all you need to do is to increase the cost for these benefits, and right there you'll have a much harder challenge. But I like that. The fact that from time to time, as I was working on one track, another track would all of a sudden become very important, and then I would need to switch my strategy to get that done before the meteors hit it. If you have multiple planets that get hit and are one step from being destroyed in the solitaire game, things are super mega tough for you. You're a little luckier if it only happens that one planet gets very close to being destroyed at a time, then you can simply spend resources on that one, shield it as you're working on it, and you're good. But if you need to spend, say, if you need to shield 2 or 3 planets per turn, you simply won't have enough victory points. You will have to take a lot of chances. So the luck factor is there. Some games in the solitaire version will be very hard due to luck, and some maybe will even be impossible, but that is not something beyond the pale of reality when it comes to solitaire games. Most solitaire games have that element that you want some randomness, so you have fog of war and uncertainty, but that also may mean that sometimes the game will be too luck-based, and then you simply will reset it and play again. This is a game that I would say occasionally maybe thrown out of balance by luck, by the way that the planets will be hit by meteors, but not entirely, not often enough for me to be a deal breaker. I enjoyed this game. I found it fun. It is a simple travel game, but simple, exciting, with tension and very interesting decisions. I enjoyed it. I recommend it for people that like dice game, and if people like me that are traveling, that's planning to travel and want to have a solo friendly dice game they can carry with them, then Cosmic Run would be a good option.